Hi, welcome to Git. I'm gytfunke, and today I'm going to show you what I do to make a passive skill. I'm working on the Vanquisher for Torchlight 1 right now, and what I've got here is my plan. I don't normally write these out, but I decided I'd just write them out just to show you guys kind of what my flow is when I'm making a passive skill. So what I'm doing right now is I'm making a passive skill called Sneak Attack. And the idea behind this is that once you've invested a point into the skill, the first time you attack an enemy, it will stun, 100% chance. But only the first time you attack it. And after the first hit, I'm going to add an exclusion stat, like I stated right here, and make it so that you can't ever sneak attack the same enemy again. So, to start off, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the stat that I want to use. So I'm already in Guts. Go up to the stat editor, and this is going to be necessary later on when I make the skills. I'm going to put the stat on the enemy, and then use it as a stat rec, or a stat watcher on the skill, to make it so that this skill won't fire again after the first time. I'm just going to copy that, because Vank Sneak Attack Git is what I'm going to use for the skill name, the affix names, pretty much everything. Okay, and this does refresh. For the stat, I want it to decrement. I want it to go away after. No, actually, this one I don't. No refreshing. It's not timed. There's no increment value. After I set it to 1, it's going to be set to 1 permanently. Okay, so all you have to do is that. Just hit the plus sign, type in the name of the stat, save it, and when you close the stats editor, it's now declared in the system, and we can use it. So next up on the plan, I'm going to make the affixes that are going to go into the skills. And this is a little bit backwards. Normally you'd probably start off with the skills themselves, but I like to have the component pieces already working, so I know that I've got the right names. But since I'm just using standardized names, it should be pretty easy. Okay, so I need 3 affixes. I'm going to have one affix that is going to be the stun for the skill. I'm going to have another affix be the affix that adds the stat that we just made, so that it keeps sneak attack from ever happening again. Oh, I'm sorry. Stun proc caster. What these two are is they're going to be cast on strike affixes or effects. They're going to cast another skill, like proc. And stun is the affix that's going to stun the enemy, and then a stat affix as well. So 4 in total. Let's go over to the affix editor. I'm going to hit the new affix button and make sure that it's in the right group. Sometimes it will default to champion affixes, and I don't think you really want to put your affixes for a class in there. You get lost. Okay, so this is going to be the first proc. We're just going to call it Vank Sneak Attack Proc Git. And then we need the stat proc. We need sneak attack the stun. I'm just going to leave that as sneak attack. And the last affix that we're going to need is the stat. Okay. Scroll down, find your new affixes in bold, or caps. Okay, so sneak attack, this is going to be the stun. I like to put the effect name in for effects like this. It's not necessary, but if you're going to do something that you want to be exclusive, say between skills you've got 2 skills that apply a shield buffer, and you don't want them to stack, you want to give them the same effect name, and then set the exclusive tab. on the effect. It doesn't matter so much for this one right here. It's not going to be important to exclude it from any other skill. So the effect type we want is stun. Activation is going to be dynamic, and the min-max is going to be 100. Duration is going to be, let's say 0.5 to start. Yeah, that seems good. Unit theme. I think stun is a unit theme, but let's go check. It's always good to make sure that you've got the right name. Okay, stun. Yeah. That'll give the swirly little stars over the head of any enemy that we stun with this skill. The unit theme here, these are graphical effects just to show what kind of things are going on with an enemy. Okay, that's all I need right there. I'm going to have to come back later and make 15 different affixes for this stun effect because I want the duration to grow. And with the modifiers that we have, stat name or graph override, what we can do is we can change the min-max, which is the chance for the stun to happen, but we can't change the duration. So we have to make a bunch of different affixes for that, which is a pain in the butt, but that's how it works. Okay, sneak attack proc. This is going to be the one that casts the skill that stuns our enemies. So I'm going to name it sneak attack proc get. The effect name here is important. This is the name string of the skill that we're going to fire with this affix, this effect. So what we want is cast skill on melee strike. Activation is going to be passive. This is going to be an effect that sticks on the player, and whenever they melee strike an enemy, it's going to try to cast this skill. Min-max 100, we want this to cast every single time. Duration can be always, or you can leave that blank, and that should be fine. And that's all we need for that one. We don't need to mess with any unit themes or anything. For the sneak attack stat, this is not the stat proc. This is the effect that is actually going to add the stat. So what we want is Vank sneak attack get. The effect we want is add stat, dynamic. Just need to add 1. That's the amount to set the stat to. The chance is 100, the duration is instant. And that's all we can add. Okay, now the stat proc is going to be another one that fires a skill. So I'm going to call that Vank sneak attack stat proc get. And this is going to cast the skill on melee strike again. This again is passive, sticks to the character, it's cast every time they hit anything. Duration of always. You know what, this I want to be exclusive. I don't want there to be any other... there's not a lot of possibility that this will ever get doubly applied. I just like to do it as a paranoid safeguard, I guess. Okay. Alright. Looks like we've got our affixes down. just going to shrink this. I like to have everything open. I don't know why it's kind of a mess, but it works for me. Okay, so we've got our stats, we've got our affixes. Now, that's not actually relevant. Stun graphs are not going to help us out. We need to make 15 of the stun affixes. Now we're going to make the skill. So what I do every time I make a skill is I copy it, clone it from another skill that I know works how I want this one to. So let me show you a vanilla skill that'll work for you. I'm just going to go up to the Arbiter directory, which is the Ember Mage. Open up the passives, and I'm going to look for here, Wankias is a good one, because it does mostly what we want to do with sneak attack. So let's go ahead and clone that, and change the folder directory to Vanquisher passives. I'm going to change the skill name to Vank Sneak Attack Git. That'll be the file name. Now we don't actually change the directory yet. You can see all of the Ember Mage passives right here. And down at the bottom, there's my new skill, the Unknown. I need to change the name string, and of course the display name, and the description. I usually like to think about the descriptions a little bit, but let's just make this one really functional. Vanquisher's first attack against enemy was and requires a equipped melee weapon. Activation is passive, target type self, splits free, splits here too. Everything here looks alright. Requirement right, melee, requirement left, melee. Unless you know the unit types that are available, I suggest not actually typing those in. What you can do instead is click skill in the middle column right there, and then go down to the left required list. Click on the little dot dot dot, the ellipses right there, and you can scroll through this list and get a correct input string. Alright, so we still have a couple other things to do to this skill. Now this is the passive skill that you can invest in. It's the one that you're going to see when you open up your skill panel and you want to put points into it when you level up. It doesn't necessarily mean that this is where all the nuts and bolts go. This passive is just going to apply the affixes that trigger the procs. It's also going to display the information that we want the player to see about the skill. So let's go down to the icon. Let's choose a better icon than that. Is there anything that looks like somebody getting stabbed in the back? Oh yeah, there's that right there. Bloodthirst. Okay. And that's all I need right there for now. I'm not going into the level. Oh yeah, actually we should do that right now. Okay, so what I normally do is I delete all of the levels except for one. Kind of speeds up the processing time for guts, and it makes it a lot more easy to look at visually. So I've got a plan here laid out already. I need an event start, an event end, and an event trigger. The event start's going to apply both of my affixes, my effects that are going to cause the procs to happen. The event end's going to remove them. We need that in case the player decides to respec their skill or level up. When they level up, they put another point into the skill. If you don't have an affix removal, you get the affix from the first level and the second level applied at the same time, can double the effect. So just make sure that you go ahead and have that affix removal in there. So let's go ahead and make that skill. Okay, so I got the event start, I've got the event end, and I need the event trigger. Using now event start. Now is this applies the affix chaos wand. Don't need it to apply that affix. I need it to apply my affixes. So I'm going to change those out. I need sneak attack proc and stat proc on there. So just go ahead and type them in. And I'll leave the affix level for now. I'm still thinking about whether I need that or not. Use DPS and attaches. Those aren't important. Don't need those. Some of the runic made vanilla skills have a lot of artifacts left over in them that don't make any sense. Like no steal effects. Doesn't have anything to do with a passive skill. And affixes remove. Don't need affix level or target. Just having the string affix in there will remove the affix Arbiter Chaos Wand 0 from any unit that this skill is applied to. Pretty useful when you've got an active skill. It might apply an affix to 20 enemies and 2 friends or something like that. This right here is sufficient to take it off of all of them. Okay. Okay. So there's our event start and our event end. Now what I want is I want the trigger. Now the event trigger is not going to happen ever on a passive skill. Event triggers only occur from animations. You can't have an animation on a passive, so the only things that are ever going to fire on a passive are things like event start, which don't have to have a trigger. The trigger, I do want to add an affix though. So this is just for show. These affixes are going to show up on the skill pane when the player mouses over it, or on the hotbar. What I want to say. Oops, are we frozen here? Oh, okay, I was in the wrong field. Additional description is what we want. Some duration, oops. X seconds. And I'll change that later when I go into filling out all 15 lines of the skill. Alright. So I don't want the player to see these affixes right here. And that's going to give them something that says like 5% chance or 100% chance to cast Sneak Attack Proc Kit. And it's going to look really funky because it's going to have a file name instead of a display name. And it's not really what I want them to see. They know that it's going to be a 100% chance to cast this when they hit something. So I'm going to go to event start, and under the event start properties, down here in the lower right, I'm going to go down to hide stats, and hit true. Okay. And that's all we need right now for our first passive. Now we have to build the procs. So Firebrand proc is a really good one to start with for something like this. Clone it. Put it in the right folder. Type in the correct name. And hit OK. And then I'm going to do one more because I need 2 of these proc skills. Obviously, it's easier to clone your own skills at this point because they'll already be in the right folder. Okay. Oops. Show me the file name. Right, so this one is thanks attack profit. And this one is thanks attack stat profit. Okay, let's go ahead and start with the stat proc first. This one's going to be a lot easier. So, hidden is a really important property on these proc skills. If you don't have hidden set here, this skill will be an option for the player to put into their hotbar, which is not how you want it to work. It's also going to refund skill points when they go respec the parent skill. So instead of getting 1 skill point back, you'll be getting 2. Going to do the same thing here and delete everything except for the first level. And then while we're here, I'm going to change some stuff around. Don't need any of those things in the level start. For a proc, you don't need the skill requirement graph or level requirement graph. Okay. Place on target, no strike effects, damage shapes, hidden once. Yeah, these are all okay. Graphics level. Okay. But our affix is going to be, oops. Just going to be thanks sneak attack stat again, and that's our affix that adds the stat to the enemy. Okay, now to keep the skill from firing constantly and eating up system resources, I'm going to add a stat requirement. And that stat requirement is going to be that our stat that we're applying isn't already there. So, target type needs to be enemy. stat we want is vank sneak attack get, secondary target type value, and 1. Now watch type we want to be less than or equal, not equal to, just less than 1. Okay. Now this will only fire once per enemy. It won't get cast on 2 enemies, or 1 enemy more than once. Okay, now we want to go into the layout here. And this is Firebrand's layout, so it's got a particle effect. We don't need that. This is behind the scenes kind of a skill. So we do need the damage effect. Without the damage effect, it's not going to apply the affix. So let's go ahead and leave max units to hit at 0. That'll mean it'll hit everything in there. But we've already specified some other things that'll make it so it only hits 1 unit. I'm going to save as. I'm going to put it into my Vanquisher Passives folder in my mod folder. I'm going to show you where that is. Media, or TL1CP media. Okay. This will be vank sneak attack, stat. Now I need to go back to the skill. And I need to find that file. So go here, click on the dots, navigate to my layout, select it there, and we'll change it. Save, and we are golden here. Now that damage shape is going to be put on the enemy that we hit because of this line right here, place on target. I guess you could do attach to target too. Place on target, we'll just put the damage shape where they're standing now. If they're moving, they might run out of it. It's going to stay where they were when the effect happened. So let's go ahead and let's change that. We want it to be to attach to target. True. We can erase place on target. No strike effects because we're not doing weapon damage. That doesn't matter. Okay, perfect. Okay, so what we need to do here, we only want it to hit 1 enemy at a time. We need to go down to the event. Max units hit, 1. Okay, everything looks good there. Let's go on to our next proc skill. Delete the delicious putting middle out of that one, and let's go on. Don't need that again. Okay, so this is our sneak attack proc. Activation tag normal, it's fine. Target alignment evil, target is our target type. I'm going to set a range for this as well. You know, speaking of which, I'm going to set a range on the stat proc too. So if the Vanquisher shoots something first before it goes up and attacks it with a melee attack, we want this stat to be on there as well, because it's no longer a sneak attack, right? So let's go ahead and go down to the range of the this one. Let's put it up to 30. That's pretty much as far as you can get across the screen before you can't see anymore. And now I'm going to change the affix as well. So it was cast skill on melee strike. Now I want it to just be cast skill on strike. That'll be ambiguous. It's either melee or ranged or a skill. You can use magic. And that will apply the stat to an enemy. So it's got to be the first hit. Okay. Now let's go on. Bank sneak attack proc. And this is where the meat of the skill happens. This is where the stun happens. Okay. So, same thing again. Let's change this. We want it to attach to target. We do not want it to place on target. Damage shakes hit once, yeah. No strike effects is not important. Okay. And then the affix we want is... just bank sneak attack, because that's our stun. Okay. Perfect. So now we just need to go in and change Firebrand's layout again. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to Recent, go to Bank Sneak Attack Stat Get. B is essentially what we want. And we're going to just go Save As, Bank Sneak Attack Get. Okay. And here's a little trick for you. You can hit Control F. Let me see, where's the shortcut? You can see it right here, file name and clipboard. And then we'll copy this layout's file name. And then you can go back to the skill here. Highlight this in the preview window up top. And just hit Control V. Now, however, it's not truncated properly. You need to cut off everything that comes before media. So that it starts with media, skills, vanquish, or passives. And hit apply. And that'll get us the correct layout. Okay. That's our 3 skills. Let's see what else is on the agenda. And that's all we need. Okay, now we need to flesh out the levels. So normally I would test this skill to make sure that it's working, but having done this so many times, I've gotten way too cocky. And I just go ahead and I flesh it out, create it, because I'm pretty sure it's going to work how I want to. But I would normally suggest that you build the mod at this point, open up Torchlight, and see if it works. So, let's go ahead and build this out. So I need to get 15 of the stun affix to make it last longer each time. And then I need 15 levels for the parent skill, the passive. I'm going to need 15 levels for the proc. And the stat proc is fine with just 1 because its effect doesn't change with level. If I just leave it at level 1, no matter what the level of the passive skill, it'll still cast the level 1 of this proc. And this does all we needed to do. Oh, the stat watcher. Okay. We need the stat watcher on our sneak attack proc too, because we don't want this to happen more than once. It has to be the first attack. So this has the same stat watcher. And what this does is requires that the sneak attack stat is less than 1 for this to work. Putting the stat rec on the same level as the level means that this skill will not fire at all unless this stat watcher is met. Now, with our stat proc coming on any attack, ooh, okay, you know what, here we go. What we don't want this to do is we don't want this to add the stat before before we get our first attack off, if it's our first attack. So we need this to delay a little bit. So I don't want this to be an event start, I want this to be an event end to apply the affix. So we're going to add an event end. And to give this a little delay, so that the event end doesn't come immediately, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this the layout a little bit of a length. So we go to the timeline in this layout for the sneak attack stat effect. Oh, you know what? I don't need to put it on event end. I can just make this take a little bit longer. Okay. So let's see here. The timeline is set to a duration of 0.25. Let's set it down to 0.2. I mean, it has to be anything greater than 0, so that it takes a little while and comes into effect after the main skill stat requirement. Okay. Now let's go to the timeline, set the damage effect to happen at the end. Okay, that was a 0.2 second delay before the stat's going to be applied. Okay. We don't need the event end after all. So the way this works is this affix right here won't be applied until a unit gets hit with the layout, the damage shape from the layout here in the event start. There's no need to use an event unit hit for this. It's kind of all one package. There's other uses for the event unit hit, and I'll talk about those some other time. Okay, so now we know that if they hit an enemy, and it is legitimately a sneak attack, this skill is not going to deny them their sneak attack unnecessarily. Okay, now we don't want them to be able to do more than one sneak attack, so in 0.2 seconds you might be able to hit something more than once. It's not really going to matter, but you might get 0.2 seconds more of a stun, and that might be a little bit odd. So to be thorough, what we're going to do is we're going to add another affix here. We're going to have the sneak attack proc, which stuns the enemy with the sneak attack get affix. We're also going to have it add the stat as well, so that it is self-exclusive. This is going to happen all at once, because it's already past the stat watcher, and this is all going to happen. But it's not going to happen twice, because the stat is going to be applied, and it's going to preclude the skill from being triggered on the same enemy more than once. Okay. Alright, now back to where I said we were. We're going to go ahead and flesh out the 15 affixes and the 15 levels of the two skills. So to do that, I'm going to use the pump, la pump, as Arcander likes to call it, the PMPE, Pearl Markup Pattern Extender, which is your best friend. It's going to save you hours and hours and hours, and I can't talk enough about how good it is for modding. Alright, so first we need to go into the mod folder. I need to open that up. We got a little shortcut already to the Torchlight 1 class pack project. Makes it a lot easier. And I need to copy the affix a bunch. Just need to scroll down and find Vanquisher Sneak Attack. we go. Copy that. Then we're going to come over here to the PMPE folder, which is where I keep all of my templates. Paste it there, open it up, and now we're going to modify it so that it turns into a functioning PMPE file. This right here is going to increment the name to match the way the PMPE is going to increment the name, so that the internal string name matches the file name, which is pretty important, otherwise your affixes won't work. This doesn't need to change. The duration, though, is what we want to change. So this is how you do the formula for the PMPE affix file. What this is going to do is it's going to increase the duration by 0.1 second for every, I'm going to have to change that and make it by 0.2 seconds for every level. Okay, so it's going to be sneak attack 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Level 1 is going to have a 0.6 duration, because you multiply this and then add that. The L is going to be equal to the number of the affix. So level 5, it'll be 1 plus 0.4, it'll be 1.4 second duration. Okay, save this, we're done editing that. And then I'm going to save it as and put it into the PMPE folder so that we can run it through the program. I'm going to open up the PMPE folder again. And now what I need to do is I need to change my bat file. I created this bat file to run the PMPE program automatically, and I just write in the affix name right here. So this is the command line that you need in the bat file to run the PMPE properly for an affix. Add this little split here that turns it into separate files, instead of getting one big file with all the different affix information, which isn't what you want. So what I want is sneak attack. I need to save this, and then we go over here to the PMPE, and we run the affixes.bat. And then in the folder, the sneak attack get out is going to have all of our different files. Oops. Control A, Control C, and then we're going to put these into the mod folder. Which is right here. Okay, now I'm collaborating with FanJam and a couple of other people on this mod, so I'm not just putting it into my own mod folder, I'm also putting it into an update folder. I don't want to just send FanJam the entire media folder with all of the files, because if he's done work and I send him my work and he just puts it in there, it can overwrite his work. It could be hours and hours of work lost. So I go in here and make a little media folder, which is going to be kind of like a little baby mod folder. It's going to have all of my information, all of my affixes that I've worked on since I last sent him an update. So I Control V, put all of them in here, and that way I can just pack them up, send it to him, and he doesn't have to worry about me overwriting something that he's already been working on. Okay. So we've got that in there. Now we need to make the skills. To do that, I need to copy the level block. So let's see here. We need this one. So the PMPE is only good for making new level blocks. That's what you're going to do when you're doing. That's the only thing that there's multiple copies of. I used to just hit Control C and then Control V 15 times and go back and overwrite everything manually, change all of the integers manually. It took hours just to do that. It was a pain in the butt. You can't balance skills that way. It takes too long. Okay. So I copied that. going to go back to the folder where I keep my templates, Vanquisher Skills, Passives. I'm going to open a new text document, sneak attack. The name on that does not matter. And I'm going to transfer this, or change it into a proper PMPE file, so that it can be read and spit out. The 2 hash marks, you know what, you can listen to me talk about how to use the PMPE on my other videos, so let's just keep going with this. Okay, only need to change the affix sneak attack compound. Affix level I do not need, so let's delete that. Okay, saved it, save as, and I just overwrite my sample.txt, close that, go back to the PMPE folder, and then run my PMPE sample.that, which just takes whatever's in the sample text, spits it out into 15 different files in the sample out.txt. Okay. Then I'm going to take this and overwrite level 1, Control V, and just pasted all 15 levels in there. And it increments so that we get the correct affix at each level. Okay. Now we need to do the passive file, the passive skill. Do the same thing, copy the level 1 block, and go back to the passives folder. Oops. Let's rename that guy. That's the sneak attack property. And this is sneak attack. Paste it in there. Okay. So this doesn't need to increment at all. I'm going to leave the affix level. I'm not sure if that changes what skill it casts at the end. It might be important. Alright, now for this here, I want to change this to be a formula that will state exactly how much stun duration is. And then I want to make it something a little bit better than stun durations, seconds. Stuns times 4. However long. Okay. Save that, save as my sample. Yep. Back to the PMPE. Okay, sample out. Control C. Back up here, and go ahead and paste it over. Oops. Okay, looks good. Save that. Okay, now everything's in place. What I need to do is I need to hook this up to the player unit and their skill tree override, and then see if it works in game. So I'm here in the, let me show you what I got here. In case any of you are first timers and you don't know how to get here, it's in the units, players, and data editors. Now, let's go with fake, sneak attack. We need to set level to 0, and then save. And we need to set it up so that they can use this in their, so they can use their skill points on it. Skill pane 1, I don't want that. Skill pane 2. Armor expertise. Don't want that. Barter. Let's go. Oops. Skills name string. Okay, that should be good. So just go ahead, finicky mouse, mod, package and publish. And this is going to take a minute. My apologies, but then we'll get to see whether or not the skill actually is working. In the meantime, I'm going to close up some of this stuff. Yeah, that's it. You may have noticed I didn't add a particle effect to it yet. I'm probably not going to right now because I'm lazy and I don't like doing particle effects. Mostly because I'm not very good at them. Alright, and then F7 is your shortcut to open Torchlight 2. Please don't let me have to update anything. Cool. I'm going to turn off a lot of these. No. Okay, here we go. It looks like sneak attack is in, even though the formatting is not quite all there right now. Looks a little dismantled. Okay. Let's reset skills. Okay, the display looks correct. Let's go ahead and equip a couple of melee weapons and see if they work. Yeah, skillful axe works fine. Doesn't have to do a lot of damage. I'm going to open up the combat log just to make sure everything is working as intended. So, here we go. Attack. And Fedra casts sneak attack, stat proc on target dummy. Casts sneak attack, proc on target dummy. And applies the affix sneak attack stat and sneak attack git for 6.6 seconds. Okay, great. Let's do it again. And the sneak attack. There we go. It's not working because the stopwatcher. Great. Let's go out and try this against it. Well, you know what? I'm gonna let you guys go. It works. Enjoy yourselves. Thanks for watching.